The red one? Okay, sorry. I remind myself of most elderly men who are not able to find the microphone buttons when they're dead obvious. First of all, let me thank you for being here today to listen to these discussions of the situation in the Philippines. It's been my honour and my privilege to be able to participate in some small way in the issue of trying to resolve the problem of extrajudicial executions in the Philippines. I won't repeat the findings of my report, which are now pretty much ancient history, even though they've only just appeared before the Human Rights Council formally. But it's well over a year now since I produced a rather lengthy preliminary report upon departure from Manila. And so perhaps the best thing to do in the short time that's available now is to make a few brief comments on the response by the government of the Philippines, which of course I won't have time to do in the Human Rights Council since I'll have 300 seconds in order to reply to 40 different countries and maybe 15 different NGOs. The most important thing to say, and this is difficult in the context of a meeting such as this, where it's convened by a group of NGOs who are deeply affected by the continuing violations in the Philippines, who are appropriately, utterly dedicated to trying to push the issue. Dr. Burgos, who has a small personal stake in all of this, with whom I met in New York. Clearly, in that sort of context, one would like to engage in a rather more powerful denunciation of what is going on. I have to say, however, that that's not my role. I have to try to remain objective. I have to try to play the role of an honest broker, whatever might be said about me, in terms of simply highlighting the issues that I think really need to be addressed. My general reaction so far is a rather positive one, and I apologise to Marie and others for saying that, in the sense that we have on the one hand statements by the government earlier today, inaccurate, highly selective, biased, stupid, ignorant, whatever else might have been said. I ignore those comments as the rhetoric that certain governments feel obligated to engage in. I think we need instead to look at the facts, and they are much more encouraging. The number of killings has dropped dramatically. It's rather interesting in a way because it is a cause to congratulate the government, and it's a cause to condemn the government, because the fact that these killings were able to be turned off so quickly gives a pretty clear indication who was responsible for them, whatever might be said in statements of this sort. Second, the general response within Philippine society, and I have to say I've read more newspaper reports from the Philippines Inquirer and the Manila Times and various other things that I would have expected over the past year, has been remarkably favourable to the findings of my report. I take it that civil society generally has been convinced of the findings, and that it is they, civil society and the media, who have subsequently pressured the government to take the steps that have been taken. Even a couple of weeks ago, Manila Times editorial, new chairperson of the Human Rights Commission criticises the old Commission for institutional cowardice and says, we will review both Mello and Alston to really give closure to this issue of extrajudicial executions. Even the new chief of the Philippine Army, whose predecessor didn't go quite as far as Secretary Raul Gonzalez in describing me as an insect or whatever it was, announced that human rights are the watchword of his time as head of the armed forces, etc. There is a change going on in the Philippines. None of that is to contradict, of course, the points that I made yesterday, which is, number one, these killings are still going on. Number two, there are many cases entirely unexplained, like that of Jonas Burgos. Number three, there have been astonishingly few prosecutions, and none resulting in convictions of military, despite the single case cited earlier in the council relating to the killing of a journalist. Let me address